Okay, so welcome back, guys. I'm driving my 2024 Subaru WRX Limited, and I wanted to make this video and explain a few reasons why I've decided to sell it. And this is especially interesting, and this is especially hard for me because I really am a huge fan of the Subaru WRX. As I've noted in other videos, I'm a huge fan, and I've owned several WRXs, and this one is my favorite. I think it's the best generation so far, and it has been my favorite generation to own. Even if I did really love that 2011, I think that this is just a more fun car to drive, primarily because of that super refined powertrain, that motor that just gives the power all the way through the rev band. However, I have decided to sell it. And here's a few reasons why. Number one, I'm afflicted with the car disease, which means that I just like to try different things. And, you know, I'm grateful for a very patient and loving wife that allows me to do that, as long as it doesn't wreck us, obviously, financially, which can be a little bit tricky at times for sure. But that reason aside, there are some legitimate things that I found that I don't love about this car. I don't know that they're necessarily deal breakers, but here are some reasons for me personally why I've decided to sell it. So number one reason, above all, that I'd like to sell this car is the suspension. And I don't know if I really noticed it so much when I first bought this car, or if I was just kind of used to it. I don't know, maybe, but I've gotten not used to it is the thing. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is the suspension is surprisingly stiff and bouncy. It's somehow even more stiff than the GR86 I owned, and way more stiff than the old BRZ that I owned. That BRZ was actually a really comfortable ride. I loved it. But regardless, this is it's fine for me to drive, but any time I have my wife or my kids or anybody else in here, they always comment on, like, wow, this is so stiff. And as much as I try to, like, kind of shrug it off and think, it's not that big a deal, it does bother me to see them, the passenger up here or my kids in the back, just kind of like bouncing along with how stiff the suspension is. And because of that, it's honestly started to bug me a little bit too. And I don't know if it's just because I've gotten a little bit older, but the stiffness does kind of, it is kind of driving me nuts, and I kind of just am ready for something softer. And so that's number one. I just want something a little more comfortable, something that's not so stiff. Reason number two for wanting to sell it is honestly just more space. You know, when we have all the kids in here, so we've got, you know, a newborn that's in a rear-facing car seat, and we've got my other kids that are, you know, grown. One of them's in a booster seat. We've got all three across the back, and my wife up here. It's pretty tight, and I would love to have the flexibility of not having to take my wife's car, a Suburban, all the time, and be able to take whatever I'm driving if we want to take that instead. And so I'd like something just with a little bit more room, that's a little more versatile, that's more than just like a commuter for me. Like, for what I'm paying per month on this, I'd rather just go get something that's a little more practical, a little more versatile, a little more comfortable and accommodating for a family of 5, than just this, like, legitimately great and awesome and excellent to drive little sports sedan. And so that's reason number two. Honestly, it's just the space and practicality. Even though this is practical, with my kids in the seats that they're in and the ages they're in, having all three across the back is, you know, a little bit of a challenge and not the most comfortable thing for all 5 of us to be going around in. So any of the reasons I mentioned here, aside from the top 2 that I've already said, are honestly just minor inconveniences. Those are really the main 2 reasons. So I guess as far as it comes to, like, other things that I don't love about this car, I wouldn't say that these are really reasons that I'm selling the car, but they are things that I just don't love about it. And the next thing I'd say would honestly be the shifter. The shifter is fine, but it's nowhere, in my opinion, near as good as the shifter even in, like, the BRZ, or the GR86, or even in some of my previous WRXs. I can't quite figure it out. I don't know if, like, maybe this is just how it is, every VB, or maybe the first owner, because I bought this used, maybe the first owner just didn't really know how to drive manual, and they maybe just kind of wore it out a little bit. I don't know. I have considered doing, like the short throw shifter kit you can get from Subaru or other, manufacturers, which I ultimately decided just to not do and mess with because I just didn't want to have to mess with it. Which I understand you could fix, right? If I was keeping this a long time, I probably would do it because it's just honestly not my favorite. It just feels a little bit loose. It's just not that satisfying. And when it coming from like the BRZ and my Miata from a few years ago, that's an extremely high bar, a standard to maintain as far as like how I think shifters should feel. And I just feel like this one should be better. I just do. And I'm a little disappointed that Subaru didn't make it better here, the WRX. Like, I don't know whatever Toyota did for the BRZ and GR6 shifter, but that thing is magnificent. And this thing really just isn't anywhere close to that, which is unfortunate. And so, one last thing I have to mention that hasn't been my favorite, but ultimately I have to address it because it's kind of the elephant in the room with this car, is the infotainment. Everybody loves to bag on this infotainment and just say how terrible it is. But I gotta say, once you get your phone connected, and once you kind of understand a few basic navigational, like where to point, what button to press, and where it takes you, it really is not bad. And the wireless Apple CarPlay connects like right away every single time. And I didn't mind it, honestly. Like, it does take some getting used to, but once you're used to it, it really, really is fine. Sure, there are some times when it's a little bit laggy and not the best, but it works good. And the stereo, honestly, it sounds good. This Harman Kardon stereo, like, no complaints. So, this is not a reason at all for why I'm selling it. I just wanted to address it because I think people talk about it all the time. But again, I just don't think it's that big a deal, and I thought it was fine. So one other reason, not because I'm selling it, but one thing that I just haven't loved about this car is this has just over 7,000 miles on it, just crossed over 7,000 miles today, so it's like pretty much new still, And in the cold here in Utah throughout the winter that I've had this car, which again, this has been like the best winter car you can buy. I just believe it. Some of the plastic up here, it does tend to rattle, at least when you're first starting out for the first 10 or so minutes that you're driving. And it just doesn't quite settle down all that much, which is kind of too bad. Like, it's only has 7,000 miles and there's already kind of some rattles going on. Like, there's one up here in the dash, and there is one like up here too, this like plastic somewhere around like the eyesight stuff. It does quiet down eventually, but again, for like the first like 10 minutes or so, it just doesn't. So, kind of lame, but that's just how it goes. So, guys, again, my final thoughts on my ownership of this WRX. It's been excellent. This is such a good car, and I know I've just given you a bunch of reasons for why I'm selling it. And honestly, the main ones are pretty just personal. And the main one being the suspension and wanting, like, especially my passengers, primarily my wife and my kids, to be comfortable. And me, to be honest, sometimes I just don't want to be bouncing around and feel like I'm just driving something super sporty. I just want to just be able to just drive and feel comfortable. Not that it's uncomfortable, but you understand what I mean, just more relaxed. And the next thing that I'd say, again, is just the space. Having 3 kids across the back, especially one in a rear-facing car seat, and my wife up here, it's just not the most, like, spacious, which I understand. Like, well, I don't want to say any, but most 5-seat sedans just aren't going to feel very comfortable to me. And, but those are my top 2 reasons for wanting to sell it. But again, I just have to reiterate, like I've said in other videos, this is such a good car, and I think it's severely underrated. Like, there's so much attention, like on the GR Corolla, for example, and the Honda Civic Type R. I understand that if you go and get like the upper trims of the WRX, you're going to be into Civic Type R kind of money, even used Integra Type S money. And I would say if you're spending I would say the limited, like this one, I would not go above a limited trim for this car. I would say if you're spending over like 38, 37 grand, 36 grand or so for this, I don't know, I think you're gonna start to feel like, what did I spend all this money on? But for around that price, 37, 38, 36 or less, like if you can buy one lightly used, you know, for the mid 30s, this is an excellent buy. And far, you know, you're like at least 10 grand less than the Civic Type R, and you're still going to be less than the GR Corolla. And the GR Corolla, I do think in a lot of ways is more fun and like more fizzy to drive than this. But I also think it's definitely not as practical. It's not as comfortable. The back seat is hardly usable. You do get the hatch, so that does give you some extra versatility. But you're also getting kind of, you know, and I know it's Toyota and they should be reliable and everything, but you're not getting something that's totally proven yet. Whereas with this motor, it totally is. And this motor is way under stressed for where it could be. And Subaru, like I said in my other video, they've been doing the WRX for a long time. Like, they've got it down. They've got it down for what works and what makes it great. And this is just the best one yet. So anyway, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments. You know, depending on when I sell this, this may or may not be my last video with it. I haven't made any modifications to this car except for the winter tires and tint, which I don't really count as modifications. So no performance or engine or nothing of that nature kind of modifications. And so pretty much a stock review. But yeah, let me know your comments, and if you bought one, like, how have you enjoyed it? Do you agree with the points I've made, especially about the suspension just being a little more stiff than you're kind of expecting, or like really feels necessary in this car? And just Subaru just, I think, deserves some additional love for how good this thing is, and I've really enjoyed my time with it. So until next time, guys, thanks for watching, subscribing, commenting, all that. I really do appreciate it, and hopefully this helps someone out there. So I'll talk to you soon. See ya.